The Diary of Thoughts, Part 30. Everything is linked. Written by Carlos Pacheco, www.diaryofthoughts.com. I read that the repercussions of throwing a small rock against a tree could affect the whole universe. Those small particles would be eventually projected in space and time, finally being extensive to the whole that is out there. In fact, nothing around us is empty independently of whether our eyes can reach or not. Everything that happens around us, even our movements, will have their consequences. To go to a higher scale, imagine what repercussions we'd have to the explosion of a nuclear bomb while making nuclear tests, simply forgetting about the existing natural balance that creation put in place. The present lack of respect regarding nature is so flagrant and at the same time manifests the ignorance of a minority while trying to reach technical goals that they call evolution, but finally contradicting that same word. Like anything else in life, society is linked without knowing it, as all our actions at a global level will affect the lives of others. Concepts about globalization are being put in practice, and countries are establishing links between them involving different areas, namely their cultures, social platforms, political, even religious values and regimes. World economy is linked in such an extensive way that we became the target of mistakes brought by the ones that think they can handle or manage this whole system we're living in, without realizing at what point there is a responsibility implied on that fact. Also, without noticing, feelings are a link between people and represents the strongest one, as we base ourselves on those feelings in our daily lives, since the moment we were born. The existing link between a human being and his mother is born naturally and stays all our existence living inside of us. Friendship and love are adamant links that create a natural emotional balance in our lives and maintaining a platform for communication and consolidation between us all, contrary with other links based on hate and jealousy that leads to destroying lives around us to the point of causing war and pain. Links within family are fundamental to create union between the ones we love, as well within friends. The links established by tastes are a platform to socialize with other people, creating friendship and eventually leading to higher feelings of love. To live in society is tough regarding relationships, still these being a fundamental link to assure that we can live together. The misunderstanding about the importance of the word relationship is at the origin of multiple social and religious conflicts, forgetting that those links could replace, even neutralize all other existing values that man imposed to himself. As any other links in life, there are good links and bad links, defining positive and negative contexts, from a level of relationship and ending in the linked interdependency between everything that is physical, which means that everything and everybody are linked. One day I wrote to a very dear friend of mine, a small text about those different links that finally can interfere in our lives, our happiness, our existence. In the end, it always depends on each one of us to identify the good and bad links. Sometimes we even ignore the most important that are right in front of our eyes, at the same time realizing that we simply can't have it all. One thing is for sure, when you're not able to break some good or bad links, it means that you're attached to them in a good or bad way. However, if we let go away, a good link means that it was not so relevant to our lives after all. Finally, we end by being caught by the bad links when it's too late to realize that fact. There is a declared war between good links and bad links, as they find themselves on opposite sides, with different energies, positive and negative. We can compare it to the actual battle within our body between good and bad genes, to go further away, like particles in space that eliminate each other, still the good ones prevailing and maintaining the universal motion. A true good link can never be broken, a bad link can be our choice but never the final answer, as it will finally destroy our lives. The example that I gave at the end of the paragraph, where I mentioned the space and the universal motion, also defines the link between me and what is out there and our eyes cannot reach, just our hearts. This link is spontaneous, and it depends on the perception of each one of us about everything that exists around us, feeling integrated on nature and life. There is no emptiness behind the darkness. This sentence might not be true, but it's a reality that it can help us a lot to surmount our daily problems, our way of thinking. By that fact, we can understand better about our existence and finally accept, even with pain and suffering, the apparent reality that is present in our daily lives to which we are all submitted. The only way to overcome or minimize those inner conflicts living inside of us all, is to try to integrate and understand as much as possible this existing invisible balance that maintains us breathing, living, feeling emotions and sharing them with others, the same way that nature shares everything with us. But even nature and life can establish good or bad links with us, which means that these are constant elements in our lives that we have to try to handle the best way we can, doing our best to keep the good ones and avoid the bad ones. On the internet, we can find good and bad links where either we can learn something or simply lose our time with futility and everything that is negative. It's the same situation when we go out in the streets and choose the good or bad places where to go. It's about our choices and options, it's about our lives. In our daily lives, we can establish good or bad relations at a personal or professional level based on the links that establish that relationship. Positive links created at a professional level can bring us a solid basis to evolve along with our fellow colleagues and not only work, but learn at the same time as a team, creating the necessary union to consolidate our future in the lives of others around us. At a personal level, bad links can destroy our lives without us even expecting it. As it happens with everyone, we're all submitted to the links that are constantly present, still invisible. That's why it is so important, even fundamental, to identify them. There are spiritual and material links continuously present, being the first ones the essential element that lead us to comprehension that will generate feelings and finally link us all. A twin soul is someone that establishes a spiritual link with us in such an intensive way that there is no need to say something to reach a mutual understanding. With a single look, the other person automatically identifies a thought, a reaction or a feeling. This perception means that the spiritual component exists in spite that some people believe that this is just a simple word while it is a reality. Circumstances in life separate lots of individuals, still linked in spiritual terms, as feelings are nothing but emotional links coming from our hearts, from our souls. Sometimes, people are linked in their lives without even being aware of it, as during a lifetime, we cross some individuals who are, for a reason or another, always or punctually there, and we cannot explain that coincidence. Feelings links people, and also circumstances, being these last ones related to situations of joy and pain while celebrating and sharing good moments or tragic events that inevitably life bring us. There are links generated involuntarily, which unfortunately happens while tragic situations occur, as the death of somebody or an accident, for instance. A promise establishes a link between two people. That's why it's so important to respect this kind of link without betraying its original meaning, though being always sure when we make a promise, when we establish a link. A promise is like a link that can't be broken. Music and other forms of art, even some professions, establishes a link between millions of people, translating at the same time the identification of similar states of mind. The past is linked with the present and future, otherwise, time would be fragmented, and we wouldn't exist along with anything else in this world, in this dimension. The sea is connected with earth and the sky, linked with both, at the same time interdependent as the sky and space involves the first two elements. The cosmos are linked with multiple galaxies, infinitive worlds and dimensions, still existing as a whole called creation. At the limit, everything and everybody is linked to a higher intelligence that generates and controls everything in the first place. Caught in our dimension, we are all linked by our limited intelligence. That's why it is hard to understand about our existence and communicate with each other. That's why it is so fundamental to identify the good and bad links in our lives. We are linked with our happiness and sadness and the happiness and sadness of others too. In fact, those feelings of other people around us can affect us in a way that we become part of them by establishing that kind of link. We feel sorrowful while assisting to the sadness of a friend, or laugh while seeing his happiness, which confirms that friendship is an unyielding link between people, maybe the strongest. There are also links of solidarity that imply ideals and values that sometimes leads to positive or negative actions. Politics and religion are linked and interfere in people's lives. Economy is linked with social contexts, and technology is linked with evolution. War is linked with power and greed, and so on. Positive and negative are linked, as there wouldn't be the first element without the second one, just as beauty and ugliness. Beautiful souls are linked as the ugly ones are too. The reason why a crook doesn't understand an honest person and an aggressive person also doesn't understand a kind one, for instance. Unfortunately, the lack of coherency in this domain leads to family and social contexts of unhappiness, misery and pain in some people's lives, meaning that the existing link is just apparent. Relationships are nothing but links related with feelings, along with affinities and tastes. In physical terms, I used to say that I would love to be linked with some beautiful people who I know, even if sometimes it is not possible. Sometimes my humor brings me curious situations. I remember this joke I had with a very dear friend of mine when I told her that we were linked by the past, as she was Guinevere and betrayed me, King Richard, with my best knight, Lancelot. It's very clear that she's married, and she called me crazy. She laughed a lot and called me as a good crazy, and I continued in my mood by asking her if she didn't want to get crazy along with me. Oops. In the end, I loved her laughs and especially the look she had in her eyes. This joke also translates our connection, our link with the past while living the present. The will to build our future is also a link with time, and all these notions translate that same perpetual link between human beings with time and space, with our past, present and future existence. It's also sure that we are linked with our imagination, even with our humor along with our feelings, also translating these last ones, our aspirations, dreams and illusions, finally our needs as human beings. In my life, I always integrated too much on other people's lives, this due to my personal concepts and visions about what feelings were supposed to be, one of the reasons why I am writing this book. I even told several times to my beloved wife that I was born to the world and not to live with a single person, which she didn't accept too well, but finally understood. I always loved beautiful souls and beautiful things in my life, and along my road, it was very difficult to find those people and things. Apart from my parents, I was lucky to find my late wife, who I deeply loved and still love, which reveals the difficulty to find souls that identify with ours. Due to that personal behavior, I was always too involved in other people's contexts, but finally, I always managed to change some things to become positive in their lives, in spite of my mistakes, faults, and failures as a human being. It's like being able to read their souls and capture their feelings and needs. As I think that everything is linked, I found myself living, not only my life but also other people's lives. Once I met this beautiful human being, and due to that perception of mine, I captured instantly through her eyes and her words, attitudes and reactions, the current lack of tenderness and affection in her life. Tenderness and affection are manifestations of love, and when we miss those essential elements, it means that we are missing life herself. Maybe due to our similar souls, we consolidated our friendship, and a result of this one, I found myself deeply loving that person and finally was able to some extent to change her life by bringing her a certain balance that she was deeply missing. That same tenderness and affection that I could read in her eyes and feel in her soul was reciprocal, for different reasons, meaning that feelings too, even if not similar, they were. Hank the Voice BEUKEMA reads from the Diary of Thoughts poems, written by Carlos Pacheco.
Tenderness and affection. Tenderness is endless. Affection is a reaction, a mirror of love. Tenderness is the sweetness, the forgiveness. Affection is the kiss, the feelings that we miss in our lives. Tenderness is the look, the time it took to find an identical soul. Affection is the inner need to be there and give your heart. Tenderness is to care, to dare, to change souls in despair. Affection is to see a smile, to say a tender word, still nothing being told. Tenderness is to read in your eyes the beauty of the skies. Affection is the will to be next to you and kill your loneliness. Tenderness is to bring you happiness, disseminate your sadness. Affection is to be there, no matter where, with you. Tenderness is to be a friend. Affection is to be with you at the end. It's all about tenderness and affection.
Deep inside of her, through my eyes and my soul, she felt my need to address her all that tenderness and affection, even love, that she missed in her life, and that were just the result of pure feelings. Real feelings are part of some human beings, being part of life, after all, however, very rare to find in life. Life is nothing but a continuous chain of feelings. Beautiful souls are hard to find. I found one with my late and beloved wife, and I am grateful that destiny brought me another one into my existence, which means that there is always a compensation in life, the moment we least expect it. Real friendship is nothing but love in its purest form. Some people just meet out of time, that's all. This kind of links we have to keep. We have to love them as they fulfill our existence if they are based on pure feelings, no matter what type. The reason why some bad links have to break to maintain the good ones. There was this movie with Robert Redford, Demi Moore, and Woody Harrelson called Indecent Proposal that is apparently just an ordinary film, but as any other one also brings some important messages that translate our daily living, our daily relationships. In fact, this movie approaches three different areas, which are feelings, social conflicts along with ambition and desire. This movie is the story of a rich man that is convinced that money only expresses life, and finally, after a stupid game, he gets deeply in love with a beautiful soul that could replace every fortune he could have. His final manifestation about his feelings is when he finally says to her that if you were mine I wouldn't share you with anyone, as someone that loves another can't even imagine that painful thought. A pure expression of love, an expression of pure feelings. The admiration and the attribution of the right value of another person are something essential, very special, and mostly an expression of love. When somebody doesn't appreciate and manifest it to the people they love, it means something is wrong in their souls. It has to be shown not only by short words, but it has to come from our hearts when we mention it. It has to come from our eyes when we look at her. It has to come from a simple look, a simple caress, a simple kiss, a hug that reveals all our existing love, tenderness and affection. You'll never be able to mistreat someone you truly love. The other area is related with ambition and desire, as feelings can be broken as links while searching for material compensations that have nothing to do with happiness. This indecent proposal caused a conflict between those feelings and the material goals that were supposed to be achieved to reach that kind of happiness, independently of the amount in question. Some people do the same thing just for some pocket money, which means that either material things are more important to them, or only that they are using this need to escape from other problems, other existing contexts in their lives, betraying their feelings in good links. As I mentioned before, good and bad links are imperative, even essential. When we don't break a link just to obtain money, any other material compensation, or merely trying to create a hideaway to our reality, it means something more than a mere link in our lives and having its significance. There, we have to identify its importance finally. Otherwise, we are causing suffering to the lives of the people who love us the most, meaning that sooner or later we will lose them. It's very clear that there are individuals who love us in strange ways, sometimes being convinced that they do, but they finally don't, as they disrespect what we are and what we represent, our freedom. Finally, those are living in a selfish way and trying every moment to reaffirm their ego to feel mostly good and happy with themselves. True love never gives place to unhappiness. All this makes part of that dignity and pride that is essential to have in life, as these are sacred elements that once lost, we'll never be able to recover them afterward. Some people lose them without even noticing it, as they are deeply involved in this struggle for life, or convinced that tomorrow things will change for better, still forgetting that life is burning out and time doesn't allow us to postpone happiness. This ignorance is the reason why we see so many people merely burning the time of their lives, not living at all, and just getting old. Never postpone your happiness, just look deeply for her, as she's very hard to find. By the fact I'm writing all this, I am linking words in a continuous chain of thoughts and ideas. At the same time, they define that inspiration and creation are linked in such an essential way that allows us to develop every single area of our lives without an end being reached, but merely a purpose to extend eternity herself. Life is nothing but an eternal link with the Creator. The Diary of Thoughts, end of Part 30. Written by Carlos Pacheco, www.diaryofthoughts.com.